You're tuned in to the Foxboro BeatCast, a podcast for Patriots fans by Patriots fans. And here are your hosts, it's Kaleb McChesney and Ryan Moore.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Foxboro BeatCast. I'm your host, Kaleb McChesney. Alongside me is not Ryan Moore. It's Elsio Rosario. You saw him a couple of weeks ago or it was probably almost a month ago at this point, when he came on. It's a weird schedule. So just to explain why you're watching this show probably on Friday instead of on the usual Wednesday or Thursday, my laptop broke. I had to get the whole display replaced. So that took out what I had hoped for this week with Ryan and Ken. Ken was going to come on during the bye week and talk about the NFL draft and prospects that the Patriots should be looking at with what's likely going to be a top 5 pick in 2025. But we'll do that next week, I hope. And instead, we have Elsio coming back to shoot the shit with me one more week. Elsio, how are you today?
Doing good. Glad to be with you. Glad to see that your laptop situation got fixed in a relatively time.
Dude, they fixed it in one day, and I picked it up in 2. And I dodged like an $800 bullet. So they said it was still under warranty. I'm like, sweet. And what ended up being like $850 worth of repairs ended up zero for me. So we'll always take the wins where we can get them.
Yes, sir.
Let's just dive into the Patriots and Colts game. Patriots lose a heartbreaker in overtime, 25-24. Anthony Richardson just plowed through the the defense on the 2-point attempt that got him the score that ended the game. It wasn't overtime. It was right before overtime. It was in regulation, excuse me. Patriots tried to convert a 68-yard field goal attempt that was just a few yards short. So, yeah, a little bit of a bummer. Let's go through the stats. Drake May, 24 of 30, 238, a touchdown, and a pick that wasn't really his fault. I don't know if you saw this play, LCO, but Drake May threw it right to Hunter Henry. It hit him in the chest, but it was one of those like Madden glitch plays where the ball didn't really hit the ground. Like it was meant to be incomplete, but the ball just kind of ended up in the linebacker's hands. So yeah, that pick wasn't on Drake May. Ramondre Stevenson, big bounce back game for him. 18 carries for 73 yards. Antonio Gibson, 7 carries for 62 and a touchdown. Your leading receivers were once again the tight ends. Hunter Henry, 7 for 75. Austin Hooper, 4 for 42 and 1. Kayshon Boutte, 341. Kendrick Bourne, 339. Demario Douglas, 4 and 20. Jalen Polk, 0 for 1. As far as the Colts offense, Anthony Richardson, kind of an up and down game. When I read you this stat line, it's not going to sound impressive, as he was 12 for 24, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 really ugly picks. But he did a lot of damage on the ground. 9 carries for 48 yards, and what would end up being... Oh, no, that wasn't the game-winning touchdown, I don't think. Jonathan Taylor just gashed you again. 25 carries, 96 yards. And Michael Pittman was far and away their leading receiver. 5 receptions for 42 yards. Any other notable stats to go under here? Let's look at the team stats. The killer for the Patriots was penalties. Once again, they owned time of possession by 9 minutes. And they had 7 penalties, gave up 88 yards. That's just bad football. It's really bad football. I think in the opening drive, the first 6 snaps, half of them were penalties. Something crazy like that. Demontre Jacobs and Valerian Lowe. Hey, you got to do better than that at tackle. Even the bad tackles don't hold as much as they do. So it's not only a talent problem, it's a football IQ problem. Whether that falls on coaching or the talent itself, I mean, we can have that conversation. But the bottom line is that's just horrible. You can't win that way in the NFL. But like I said, they had 9 minutes on them in time of possession. You have to win that game. Joey Sly missed a early field goal attempt from like 20-something yards out. So the Patriots fall to 3-10, mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Once again, for the third straight season, the Indianapolis Colts are 6-7, right outside the NFL playoffs right now. So, unfortunately, Ryan's not here where I could say, where do you want to start? Elsie, do you have any thoughts on this game or the state of the Patriots, or if you're going to throw blame on somebody for how this season's gone? Since we last talked to you anyway, it's been a month, so.
I agree with you on the offensive line penalties. Those really hurt, especially because they happened in the red zone, right, for the most part.
A lot of them did happen in the red zone. Yeah, you would be first and goal, and then 2 holding penalties, and you're 1st and 20 from the 25.
Yeah,
like it's rough.
And otherwise, some thoughts. This will sound a little wild, but your run defense voted a little better, still not great than I thought, just because you're facing a premium back in Jonathan Taylor.
And a mobile quarterback in Anthony Richardson.
Yes, sir. And
who, by the way, made me eat my words. I called him dead in the water a couple of weeks ago. I thought he was cooked when he tapped out of that play. I thought that was just the softest, gross thing I've ever seen a quarterback do. But he goes and kicks my ass. So what can I say at this point, right?
Yeah. I mean, you had some bright spots. Jalen Polk putting up another goose egg is really problematic, though. I'll be honest with you on that. Just as an outside, observer, that's a big problem on a guy you spent pretty good draft capital on. But
speaking of the draft capital, we were picking at pick 34 in 2024, the NFL draft. We traded down. Do you know who traded up and made the pick?
The LA Chargers, right?
Yeah, and for who?
Lad McConkey.
Who leads the rookie receivers in yards. Wouldn't you like to have that guy?
I think I'd rather have him than Jalen Polk at this point.
And an underrated part of this is coming out of college, Jalen Polk's biggest attribute was he was an adult. He was like a professional. He's been nothing but a pill since he got here. Best hands in the NFL. Remember that comment?
Yeah, best hands. Never drops a pass. That's what I heard.
I don't have a mental problem when Gerard Mayo says he's just got to get over the mental hump. He's given a lot of Antonio Brown mentality vibes without Antonio Brown talent.
Yeah, with receivers, you need to pick one of two. You can either not know how to play or kind of be a diva type, as some people might say, but being both really gives you a short leash in this league. Polk should just be glad he's a rookie at this point.
Yeah, he's going to get at least another year. What else from this game can we go over besides how nice the Patriots red jerseys look, right?
Yeah, beautiful jerseys. Antonio Gibson has his 1 or 2 runs a game where he looks like he remembers his 40 time. Looks really good.
Yeah, he had a 15-yard run this week. 7 for 62, averaging 9 yards a carry. That's not bad. That's pretty good.
Yeah, the running game as a whole this week was pretty good.
For sure.
Drake May being a contributor in that part of the game is really nice to see for y'all too. 5
for 59 for his carries. I think this was probably his best game. It was very clean. I thought he kept the ball out of a lot of like harmful positions. And obviously you look at the stat line, you see the pick. needs more context because that pick was not his fault. Actually, just so you know what I'm talking about, I'm gonna go find that pick, that interception on Twitter here, and I'm gonna send it to you. Drake May interception. It was just the wildest thing I've ever seen. Was it this one? No, it wasn't that one. Drake May has a turnover. Yeah, okay. Here we go. Elsio. I hate having dead air, but it's a last second show, people. Bear with us.
While you're sending that, Christian Gonzalez looked really good too. That's an encouraging sign.
Oh, for sure. That last drive, he was a huge contributor in the run game as well. He put the shoulder to Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor and did all he could.
That looks like the type of play that would make me turn off my PlayStation when I was playing Madden.
The interception?
Right there, yeah.
That's bad. So that turnover was not on him, and otherwise he had a great game.
Yeah, clean game, high completion percentage, fair amount of yards, nothing crazy, but he's not throwing to anything crazy either, and you love to see the touchdown too.
Yeah, you like to see growth in that department for sure. Because earlier in the year it was he throws a lot of turnover worthy balls. Didn't have one this week. I can't remember one. So shout out to his best game as a pro so far. We'll talk about his alma mater in a little bit if anybody's curious about what's going on over there. At UNC. And Patriots go into the bye week. So much needed for sure. Going 14 weeks of just regular season football is crazy. And then you add on the training camp, the preseason. It's a lot of football and a lot of weeks in a row. And next time we see them, they'll be traveling to Arizona.
Yeah.
Take on a pretty good Cardinals team.
Nice to see them finally get a little bit of rest. Kind of feels like you all got hosed with a bye week being that late. But
man, the schedule's atrocious. We already went to San Francisco, and now we have to go out to Arizona again. We went to San Francisco week 5, week 4, and now we're taking another trip out west.
A lot of West Coast travels this year.
And we went to London this year.
Yeah, that's true too.
So, a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So no game to preview, obviously, and no Ken to talk about NFL draft prospects. Although Elsio, I'm sure that your college football knowledge is respectable, but Ken,
not that respectable.
Ken, man, he just zones into the film, gets his rankings out, it's insane. So we reserve that slot for him. We'll talk about the Patriots and their NFL draft. I hope next week, if not the week after. All right, ready for 10 questions?
Ready.
And when I say questions, I mostly mean topics. Let's lead off with the big story from this week. Houston Texans linebacker Azeez Al-Shahir, 3-game suspension for his helmet-to-helmet hit on Trevor Lawrence. That is probably a season ender, that concussion. Mac Jones, Patriots former first-round pick, will be starting at quarterback for the Jaguars for the foreseeable future. Elsio, instant reactions. Was that a dirty hit? Was the suspension warranted? General thoughts.
I'm going to contextualize my argument so it doesn't seem like there's a personal hatred here for Al-Shahir here. We're in an NFL that already values player safety, concussion safety, and heavily protects quarterbacks. Those are 3 core principles we have to keep in mind. I don't understand the media narrative that the slide was late. There was time to pull up.
You see what Tom Brady said this week?
Yeah.
That the NFL should fine quarterbacks for sliding late.
I did see that, and surprisingly, the late slide narrative was not very uncommon this week. I don't agree with it. I think 3 games is somewhat generous in this NFL for the hit and the impact we're likely seeing with that trip to IR. And, you hate to see a concussion on the field, especially on a hit that probably shouldn't have happened, in my opinion.
So 3 games? What do you think?
3 games is generous, but I'm not going to argue for like 5 or 6 either. Maybe 3-4 range is fair, I feel like.
And this isn't Al Shahir's first incident with playing dirty either.
No.
So, and he said that what do you say on Instagram or Twitter or whatever it was that like they want to release the villain in me, something along those lines. Be an adult, man.
Yeah, you got
Be
to
an
be
adult.
accountable.
So, yeah. So there's that. All right. This is maybe my most favorite topic of them all. Bill Belichick, former New England Patriots head coach, Andrew Carter on Twitter here. He is a writer and reporter for the News and Observer. Source confirms that Inside Carolina report that Bill Belichick interviewed for UNC's head coaching vacancy. UNC, the University of North Carolina. That's right. Bill Belichick is interviewing for college jobs. Who would have thought? And the quote is, he blew them away in the interview. He's told that Bill Belichick's interest is high and genuine, but extremely unlikely to happen due to his age and lack of college experience. So, Elsio, I'll kick it right to you. Should Belichick be considered for college jobs? Should Belichick be considering college jobs? And is there a place for Bill Belichick in the NFL in 2025?
I'm not afraid to, say that in private. We've talked about Belichick being above coordinator jobs. And
No, for sure.
I don't think we talk college jobs, though. I do think Bill Belichick should be considering college jobs, if nothing else, to keep his options open. He's doing fair in media, but he very likely wants to coach again sometime. There might be a place in the NFL. Dallas might look to make a splash with him.
I got a nomination that you might be pissed about.
What's that?
Bill Belichick to the Cincinnati Bengals.
I could see it.
A ready-made offense, right?
Yeah.
You bring Josh McDaniels, and you fix that defense.
Zach Taylor's seat should be one of the hardest in the league. I think before the year or during, when the Eagles kind of looked on the ropes, we talked to him, but I think Sirianni's seat is pretty ice cold now. It looks pretty safe.
The Eagles are playing fantastic football right now.
But, Bill's at least interested enough that he interviewed North Carolina, and, North Carolina was impressed. We'll see if there's a place for him in college football. But I'm glad to see him keep the options open here.
No, that's for sure. It's very interesting. Can you imagine Bill Belichick doing recruiting?
I think he'd, split his duties. He'd give that maybe to someone else, and they could sell the pedigree of playing under Coach Belichick better.
Yeah, so we're gonna offer you a scholarship here, and we think that you're gonna be a pretty good player. So, yeah, you want NIL money? Listen, I didn't pay Tom Brady jack shit when he played for me in New England. You don't think I'm gonna pay you? Julian Edelman, Super Bowl MVP, took pay cuts to play for me. Okay, I don't need to pay you anything.
Yeah, I could definitely see recruiting being a duty that he gives to a better salesman.
You think you could give Saban enough money to like leave Alabama's front office and come help him out at UNC?
For Bill, maybe. They're friends.
I'm throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there. And on top of that, because I didn't write it down, but I'm kind of interested to get your thoughts. Ohio State just lost to Michigan again, right? One of the
Yeah.
worst Michigan teams of recent memory. One of the best Ohio State teams of recent memory. They lose that big rivalry game. A lot of Ohio State fans are like gonna be pissed, even if they win the national championship. So, what do you make of that situation with Ryan Day? And on the topic of NFL coaches going to coach in college, Mike Vrabel, former Ohio State alumni. What do you think about maybe him taking on a college job? And especially with that being Ohio State. So I'll let you run with it from there.
So I think Ryan Day should be fired before the playoffs. I mean, I don't care how successful you've been. You've won your games. You have them nationally relevant. They were nationally relevant before him. They'll be nationally relevant after him. You can't beat Michigan. That's the most important game of the year, even more than the national championship there, I promise you.
Might I note you're throwing a UNH alumni under the bus right now?
I apologize to UNH for this. And people are going to say Ohio State lost because they're a softer team. I disagree. They lost because they tried to prove they weren't a softer team. They tried to play hard-nosed, run-first football, and they blew it. They couldn't do it because that's not them. If they stuck to their pretty pass game and maybe had a better quarterback out there, they probably win that game handedly. Vrabel would bring, at least in my head, that more rough run first attitude.
An edge, like it'd be an edge for sure.
He bring that
not to have a pun about how where he played on in his playing days.
He'd bring an edge, and I think he'd recruit the talent for it because Ohio State's team is built on that finesse. I'll call it. I won't call it soft play. They're not built to beat up Michigan in the trenches or.
They're more talented than tough.
Yeah. With Vrabel, you might get more of that middle ground, talented and tough. If you want to try to prove Michigan wrong, fight them there. He'd be better for that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm not big on college football, but I thought that was interesting. We're gonna stick on the topic of coaches getting fired. Matt Eberflus, after maybe the biggest botch of a 2-minute drill I've ever seen out of a head coach, he gets canned after losing to Detroit in a winnable game. So what do you make of that situation? Do you blame Caleb Williams at all? And if you're the Bears and Ryan Poles, who are you looking at to maybe develop Caleb Williams?
I'll start off. I don't blame Caleb Williams at all. He's a rookie quarterback. He was waiting for his play call, and they took too long to give him the play call. A rookie and a vet might go ahead and call the timeout, but he's a rookie. If he calls an unauthorized timeout, that's maybe some trouble. I think Eberflus should have been fired before the year. The fact that game was winnable. If I'm a Bears fan, I'm glad to have lost that game so he would get fired because he would have most certainly kept his job if he beat the Detroit Lions.
Maybe into next year. Yeah.
If I'm the Bears and Ryan Poles now, we have the coaching vacancy. I'm looking probably to hire the best offensive coordinator I can get as a head coach and hoping that works out. And for the OC job, I'm looking at the Texans quarterback coach that had a lot of hype last year for OC jobs. Trying to lure him in. What's
the
his
Texans
name?
quarterbacks coach? Is that Texans QB coach? What is Gerard Johnson?
Gerard Johnson. He had some love from teams, and looks for an offensive coordinator job for his good work with rookie C.J. Stroud, and I think he's pretty good with quarterbacks, so that's something you'd like to see with a second-year guy.
Would you consider hiring Bobby Slowick from the Texans, and then Gerard Johnson? Although I guess Slowick isn't super popular in Houston right now.
I'd consider it at least. They'd have a rapport at least. If whether or not Slowick is the best offensive coordinator they could get, I don't know, but he'd be on a list at least of guys to look at.
Who else is on that list?
Let's see.
Ben Johnson.
Almost certainly.
You think there's an amount of money that can get him to go to a rival like Chicago?
I'd give him a blank check. I'd give him a contract bigger than Deshaun Watson's in Cleveland. They could look at, maybe I would say a Mike McDaniel, but he's a head coach already. Maybe have a hard look at Joe Brady. He's been doing some good work in Buffalo, and I'm sure you'd be glad to see him go.
How about Brian Daboll if he gets canned?
If Daboll gets canned, he should be the top candidate for almost any team looking to make a coaching change, I think.
For sure.
I almost am to the point I don't think he should be fired.
No, he shouldn't be, but the Giants are just so inept that I think he should probably want to get fired.
Yeah, he should want to, but I don't think he should be.
All right. Next question. Or next topic. Should Kirk Cousins be benched? The last 2 or 3 games, I forget the stat, 0 touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
And he threw 4 of those against the Chargers in a very winnable game. He threw 4 picks, and they lost by like 2 points.
They have a first-round quarterback right behind him in Michael Penix, who I loved. I would have loved to have him in New England. I love Drake May more, believe me. But I would have loved to have Michael Penix as well. Maybe not a 3. So what do you make of that situation? If you were what's the guy's name? Raheem Morris. If you were Raheem Morris for Atlanta, would you pull the plug on Kirk Cousins?
I definitely would, and I think they should be heavily considering it. Kirk's a good guy, as far as I know. People in the locker rooms with him tend to like him a lot. He's probably fairly coachable, even still at an old age. But it's the combination of age,
injury,
the Achilles, and he's had some bad judgment this year that's not been punished as much in some games. It's just a bad mixture that's just kind of resulted in Kirk not being the Kirk Cousins we think of that we want to see. I would certainly consider it, and on a side note, I'd also consider giving less carries to Tyler Algier, but what do I know?
Do you have an agenda to push here, LCO, as far as your Tyler Algier hatred?
There's an agenda there, but there's no agenda in saying they should definitely consider benching Kirk and giving the first round rookie some burn.
Yeah, no, for sure. Hate to see it for Kirk Cousins. I was pulling for him. I really was.
Me too.
Christian McCaffrey. He was dealing with a lot of injury this year, obviously with the bilateral Achilles tendonitis. He came back, wasn't awesome to say the least, and then in Buffalo in the snow, tears his PCL, probably done for the year. His career is probably in question right now. What do you make of this situation? And the Niners just season from hell. There's no other way to put it. This is the season from hell for the 49ers.
it's an abject disaster. I think they should bench their starters and just tank the rest of the season.
And like on top of that, just think about it. Trent Williams lost his 2-year-old daughter. Was it? I was either newborn or
hear about that.
Trent Williams. It wasn't his daughter. It was his son. His son passed away.
That's terrible to hear.
Stillborn. His name was, to make it even sadder, Trenton O'Brien Williams Jr. He was stillborn on the Sunday after Thanksgiving.
That's just
Or
terrible.
the Sunday before. I don't know. Detail doesn't matter. The fact is that Trent Williams had a 1-year-old son that passed away at 35 weeks old. And then obviously there's the corner. Was it Travarius Ward that also is dealing with a similar situation? Yes, Travarius Ward. His 1-year-old daughter passed away in October. She would have been 2 in November. It's a season from hell, man. Like,
here's what I'm doing. If
Brandon Ayuk just like Bridgewater's his knee. It's a multi-ligament knee injury. Who knows if he'll be ever the same receiver that he was.
Here's what I'm doing if I'm the 49ers, both, for moral reasons and just because the season's over. You give Trent Williams and Charvarius Ward personal time.
Ward hasn't played since then.
Yeah, you let him keep at that, check in on him, make sure he's okay. You play your starters as sparingly as possible. Hope you hit in the draft. You really have serious talks about whether Christian McCaffrey's going to retire on you. And to make matters worse, Jordan Mason's on IR too. You're not looking at a good situation in San Francisco, and you never really have been from the start of the season. Deebo Samuel had the scare with his lungs, the serious pneumonia. It's just
I forgot about that in the early stages of preseason. And then George Kittle, I think he dealt with a little injury. And then Brock Purdy is just kind of one man standing over there.
But yeah, you're having a bad year, a lot of injuries. You let your guys dealing with loss, you give them their personal time to, I think you should do that even if you are winning. But
Nick Bosa is also missing time too.
Especially if you're losing, there's no argument. You should let them have their personal time, check in, offer support.
Last thing before we go, before we move on. The people the morons who are saying that Kyle Shanahan should be fired, like they should stop it, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm Gerard Mayo's biggest supporter. I would launch him into the sun for Kyle Shanahan. I would.
I would contemplate getting rid of Mike Tomlin for Kyle Shanahan. That's how good he is, and Tomlin's a top 3 coach in the league.
He might be coach of the year. It's him and Dan Campbell up there.
Yeah, Shanahan's a very good coach, but you can only coach the help you have, and in this case, it wasn't much this year.
This is This is an outlier for Shanahan. It is.
The IU contract looks really bad in hindsight, though. But how can he predict someone's knee getting this?
Honestly, he wasn't. He not to crap on a guy when he's down. Ayuk wasn't playing that well when he started playing again. Aren't we happy, me and you, that he didn't want to come? He didn't want to come play for us.
If he came to the Pittsburgh Steelers and he was doing, dropping all those passes and stuff, I'd be in a bad state. Right?
Throwing fits in practice.
Yeah.
He already got one George Pickens. You don't need another. All right.
George Pickens catch is a little better.
I feel like we talk about this guy every week. Is Bo Nix for real? Is he a stud? Are you a believer yet? Are you on the Bo wagon?
If I had a vote right now, he's rookie of the year.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Like, not close. My second place vote would just be because you have to. But there's a big gap. If I could, I'd give him a first place vote and someone else a third place, and down the list like that.
There is a gap, yeah. So, do you think that he is a good quarterback? One, that he's not just a Sean Payton kind of merchant, as a lot of people would say. Has he truly improved that much since the Auburn days? Like, is Bo Nix for real? Is he here to stay?
Well, when Bo Nix was at Auburn, you saw that improvement, and people said, not Auburn, Oregon, if I misspoke there. They said the improvement, he was an Oregon merchant. He gets drafted, and I'm one of the people where, like, yeah, the Broncos are really stupid. They've set themselves back 5-10 years. I am going to believe until he proves otherwise that he's not a Sean Payton merchant. He still puts the ball in harm's way. Sometimes his rookies tend to do.
Dude, that 93-yard throw to Mims, that was a dart.
He had a couple not great throws in the Cleveland game, but he had that.
Thank God he was playing Jameis, huh?
Really good. Yeah. He was facing the one guy that could outdo him in that department.
I'm hesitant because I'm like, is he that good? I'm really hesitant, but you can't deny what he's doing on the field right now. He's rookie of the year. Talk to me at the end of week 2. At the end of year 2. At the end of year 2, I will happily stand on one side of the fence or the other. Like, if he has a really bad sophomore slump, not a lot of guys come back from that. If he doesn't have a sophomore slump, that guy might be here to stay, and the Broncos might have just rekindled what they haven't had in 12 years.
Yeah.
Not 12 years. It's only been 10 since they won the Super Bowl. But yeah, it's an interesting storyline to follow.
It is for sure.
The Ravens suspended wide receiver Deontay Johnson. I guess he didn't want to play against the Eagles.
I thought would be the opposite problem. I thought maybe they weren't, playing him, and he was getting in arguments that way. What I've learned from his Pittsburgh days is Deontay Johnson's a confusing cat, man. He's a little bit of a diva. He's nothing insane. He's not an Antonio Brown, but he's an opinionated guy. He'll stand up for himself, so to say. And I guess he did that in Baltimore, and that's a 1-game suspension for what he did.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. The Ravens, man, they're in a frisky spot. They're in a frisky spot.
I had said I didn't love the trade, but I said I thought it didn't move the needle. I didn't say it was bad, but at this point, it's looking like a bad
Well, they
trade.
didn't give up much. What was it?
No, but I guess it's not a bad trade because he's not a big enough detriment at a fifth.
It's not like when the Patriots sent a 2 for Mohamed Sanu.
No, that was. Or the Bears sent a 2 for Chase Claypool that became Joey Porter.
Jesus. Yeah, you guys got Joey Porter Jr. out of that.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? Wow. I also want to give the Steelers their flowers. I didn't write them down. But I'm sure we can get into it a little bit later because I do have a segment on talking about the AFC as a whole. The Steelers they're not the frauds they were in 2020. This is actually a good team. They could win a playoff game or two.
That's what I'm hoping for, man.
All
I
right.
haven't been this optimistic in a while. I'm telling you that much.
So the Cowboys have gone from bad to worse. Zach Martin, one of the best interior offensive linemen of all time, maybe, needs season-ending ankle surgery. He joins Dak on the IR. Jerry Jones is just getting increasingly more frustrated. Mike McCarthy is he really going to come back? Like, are the Cowboys really going to bring him back?
There's almost no shot.
No.
No, and talking about Zach Martin, I do want to say, I don't think there's a maybe to it. He's probably one of the best interior guys ever. That loss hurts. I don't know if it hurts as much as it would in a vacuum, like if you had a healthy Dak Prescott, because they're not winning much with Cooper Rush anyways.
Almost lost to the Giants last week.
Yeah, almost. I can't believe they didn't, honestly. But the loss does hurt no matter what. Even if you were going to lose anyways, he was almost certainly a reason they've stayed in games they've stayed in, and he definitely contributed to the like 1 or 2 wins they've had since Dak went out. So yeah, it's just not good.
Cowboys are in a bad spot, man. And they still got to pay Micah Parsons. They did pay CD though, right? CD.
I want to say, I know they paid Dak.
Yeah. They paid him. They paid him.
Good.
But that Micah Parsons contract, man, they got to get it done.
Yeah, they're
you
going
can't
to
let
have.
that guy go. You can't let that guy go. And
I
if they do, the Patriots need to be slamming on that door.
I think everyone in the NFL does.
Imagine a Pittsburgh pass rush with Micah and TJ.
Micah and TJ, and you can have Alex Highsmith in there too. Cam Hayward still.
The 2010 Steelers are back. So it's reported that Aaron Rodgers coming back to the Jets is increasingly unlikely. Obviously he has that documentary, Aaron Rodgers Enigma, coming out on Netflix in 2 weeks. I'm kind of excited to watch that. Like, it's gonna be cringe, but like I kind of want to watch it. I have this book that I've been meaning to read. It's not his book, but like it's written by a guy who's done books on Belichick, Tiger Woods, etc. Is there a place for Aaron Rodgers in the NFL in 2025?
No.
Really?
No, I don't think so.
No team is desperate enough?
If you're a bad team, he's not going to put butts in seats for you anymore. And if you're a good team, he's a downgrade over what you got, unless you're somehow good with a really bad quarterback. Let's just talk about it. The Jets are smart for cutting their losses. The experiment failed. You fired your head coach for this guy. Probably you traded multiple picks. You paid him. And you're what are they?
3-9.
3-9. 3-9. There's Aaron Rodgers is an all-time great, multi-time MVP. He was special to watch. 5-time MVP. Has that Super Bowl ring. Hall of Famer. Maybe first ballot.
Oh, absolutely first ballot.
First ballot. But he's 40 plus now. His Achilles has him not making the throws he used to make, because you'd be shocked how much of the lower body goes into throws.
Especially where his mechanics were just wonky.
Yeah.
Like the difference between him and Brady and Breeze, like Brady, Manning, Breeze were always sound mechanically. Always sound. They retired because their shoulder gave out. Brady retired because he doesn't want to get hit anymore at 45. their footwork and their fundamentals were never in question. Aaron Rodgers, he was the freestyler, and that's what made him great. But it also made him subject to fall off a little harder, especially when he tears his Achilles like that.
An Achilles injury for Aaron Rodgers has maybe the same or worse effect as a shoulder injury would have had to those other guys. And unfortunately, he had it, and he had it at like 39 years old, which your body's older, harder to recover.
Like, if Rodgers never tore his Achilles, he might still be okay. He might still be pretty good.
Yeah, we might be talking a playoff Jets team, I'm thinking, but I'm not trying to kick Rodgers. There's just not a place for him anymore. He's not Rodgers anymore.
Outside of me, Elsio, you might have just had the most friendly discourse on Aaron Rodgers that the show has ever heard. I'm usually having to say, now, guys, let's not revise history here. This guy is a 5-time MVP.
Yeah.
And I am an admitted Aaron Rodgers fan. I've been a fan of his for a long, long time. Off the field, kind of a weirdo. I don't support everything he says and does. But on the field, oh, dude, that's the last of our childhood right there.
Yeah.
And he was awesome in his prime.
He was.
Absolutely awesome. And I know you have a little bit of kind of a hard spot in your heart for him because of what he did in 2010.
There's a bit of a grudge there, but over time, I kind of got over it. But I would admit some of the playoff jokes were funny to watch.
Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees all time?
Rodgers.
Is it close?
Not really, because the same stuff I'd penalize Rodgers for in the argument you could penalize Brees for.
You could penalize Brees for worse because he went 7-9 all the time. At least the Rodgers was winning his division.
Yeah.
It might have been crap bag teams, but nobody ever touted the NFC South for having amazing teams. Ever. They were the meme of the NFL for a while.
They were the worst division in football for a solid stretch of time.
And the Saints went 7-9 during it. All right, last one. The Super Bowl, okay? In the NFC, it feels like a 2-team race. The Eagles and the Lions. In the AFC, it feels like a 2-team race. It feels like Chiefs and Bills. But I gave the Steelers their flowers earlier. So I just want to throw it out there. Chiefs or Bills? And then do you think the Steelers have a shot in the dark as well?
If I had to pick right now between, the top two, it's Bills. They've been the best. They've been maybe the best team in football for a good stretch now. They just dominated San Fran, but I get it. It was in the snow against the California team. CMC got hurt. They
Trent
still
Williams.
dominated them. No Trent Williams. No Ayuk, as we said, but they beat the Chiefs head-to-head. I know it's not the most sound to say, well, they beat them once, they'll do it again. But
They've done it. They've done it before and then lost.
Since then, they've been pretty solid, and the Chiefs have beaten the Las Vegas Raiders by a measly 2 points. Josh Allen might be my MVP favorite.
He's my MVP, though. I slam it down, MVP.
James Cook has been incredible. The line's been blocking well. Shakir's not crazy, but
Amari Cooper has been an awesome addition.
Amari Cooper was a great trade piece for them. Even with what's his name out there, young tight end.
Dalton Kincaid.
With Kincaid out, Dalton Knox has been good. Dalton Knox has always been pretty solid, though. The defense, it lost its pieces, and you can tell, but they're still good. I would give some other teams a shot in the dark in the AFC, though. Baltimore could get it together, but I don't love the chances. Steelers kind of have that defense that could
And the Steelers just proved that they could win in a shootout.
Yeah, Russell Wilson threw for over 400 yards in that game, completed passes to like 10 or 11 different guys.
That was one of his best games as a pro.
The Chiefs' offense hasn't been stellar this year, but their defense has kept them in games.
When I talk about the Chiefs and I talk about them highly on this show, they have the best coach and the best quarterback. Like, they figure it out, just like the Patriots figured it out. This team reminds me of the 2018, 2019 team that went to the Super Bowl. They're just winning in a different way.
Yeah.
So when you see it, it's really confusing because you're so used to Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce running around and Mahomes just making spectacular throws. And the Chiefs' offense is still they're still functional. Mahomes still pulls out the wins when he needs them. When you gotta bring it down, he does it. But I do admit it's not the same. But does that mean that they're not good? Not the same thing.
Say they're not good, just not stellar.
I think that they're still my Super Bowl favorite because it's like the Brady Belichick effect. You can't pick against these guys.
Like, if I'm talking a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? We have maybe the same profile, a bit of a downgrade because Russell Wilson is obviously not Patrick Mahomes.
And Tomlin's probably not Andy Reid. Yeah.
Yeah, not a stellar offense, but the defense, if I had to pick a matchup for the Steelers that would launch them to the championship, I would pick the Chiefs. I think Josh Allen could hurt us too much. I think we could contain this Chiefs offense to keep it more of a defensive battle, and that might play into Kansas City's hands too. But with Buffalo, I don't think we could even try to make it a defensive battle.
Well, we'll know on Christmas because Casey is going to your house.
Yeah, we'll
Could
learn
that
about
be an
that.
AFC Championship preview?
I hope.
Listen, man, the Chiefs got. Let's see. Let's look at the Chiefs' schedule coming up because that could be a game for the number 1 seed. You never know. The Chargers, the Browns, who are playing hard football, and the Texans. They could drop 1 or 2 of those games.
Yeah, it's not a cakewalk. I'm not saying it's, a crazy gauntlet, but it's definitely not a cakewalk.
That could be for home field advantage throughout the playoffs. The Bills, they got the Rams this week. They got the Lions the week after that on prime time. They got the Patriots twice and the Jets. So the next 2 games are tough. The last 3 are division games that get weird.
Yeah, I was going to say, on paper, you would call the Patriots, and
The Patriots
Jets,
just should be a cakewalk, but
soft
division
game.
games are weird.
Yeah, it's a divisional game, and I know a thing or two about losing to a bad divisional rival. So.
But you got to admit the Browns have been kind of like tearing it up lately.
When Jameis isn't, throwing pick sixes, which he has a shirt of, he's asking the Lord to for him from. He's thrown for about 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. So yeah, he's kind of wild.
Yeah. That's it for the 10 topics. Do you have anything that you want to touch on before we go to picks?
No, I think we've had a pretty good, thorough conversation around the league.
We created almost an hour of content, which was like, I'm like, oh my god, we don't have a game to preview. Are we gonna make it an hour? We did. We're at 54 minutes right now. All right, let's get to picks. Last week, in week 13, you were better than me by 1 game. Me and Ryan tied, but I have the tiebreaker on points. So once again, I beat Ryan in the straight up. In the line, I haven't counted since week 8. So we'll figure out against the spread soon, I hope. Let's get into these picks. Tonight on Thursday Night Football, we have the Green Bay Packers at the Detroit Lions. The Lions are 3-point favorites. Elsia, where are you going with this and why?
It's a divisional game, but the Lions do have home field. So hesitantly give me the Lions to cover. Still a really good offense. Some defensive injuries, but I think their defense is still passable. So I'm going to hesitantly take them to cover.
I'm with you. The Jets at Miami. Miami -5.5. I'm taking Miami both ways. The Jets are just bad. They're bad.
Yeah, and with Miami, you do at least have Tua back. The offense isn't like the McDaniel offense of last year, where you're like, oh, are they going to put up 70? But they're still good enough to beat a hapless Jets team and cover for sure.
Atlanta at Minnesota. Kirk Cousins coming back to Minnesota. Play his old team. A lot of great years over there. A lot of just okay seasons over there. Certainly better than what's going on in Atlanta right now. The Vikings are 5.5-point favorites. I've been picking against the Vikings lately, but I don't see them losing this one. Like the Falcons just kind of seem like they're kind of losing it a little.
Yeah, I mean,
and a lot of it is on Kirk.
I'm going to fall in line with the Vikings win. With Sam Darnold, it's kind of tough because some games he looks really good, and some games he shoots himself in the foot a lot, and they kind of Mickey Mouse their way to win. So I'm not going to take them to cover.
Alrighty. The New Orleans Saints are heading to the Meadowlands to take on the Giants. They're 4.5-point favorites against the Giants. I think the Saints cover pretty easily. They're starting Drew Lock quarterback this week. Giants are in a bad way. The Saints, they're also not great. Derek Carr missed a good amount of time. They're 4-8. Giants are looking to get that first overall pick. I'll take the Saints.
Yeah, I'll take the Saints to cover, and I don't think the Giants will mind too much.
The largest spread of the weekend. Carolina is headed to Philly to take on the Eagles. The Eagles are 12.5-point favorites. I'm going to get a little weird here. I'm taking the Eagles to win, and I'm taking the Panthers to cover. The Panthers are playing tight games.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. Carolina's, Bryce Young, after getting benched, has been pretty good. He's been playing solid, efficient ball games. Chuba Hubbard, when he holds on to the balls, looked really good. Their defense has kind of stepped it up. They almost beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'm sure the Bucs didn't cover their spread. That spread was probably smaller than 12.5. So
Tampa had a 6-point favorite.
12.5 is just a really big gap, and I get it. The Panthers are generally a bad team,
and the Eagles are very good.
I don't think the Eagles cover. I'd say if it was -9 or like 9.5, I might give the nod there.
Cleveland at Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 6.5-point favorites. I'm doing the same thing as I did the other game. Taking Pittsburgh to win. I think they're the better football team overall. And the Browns will keep it within 6.
Yeah, we're almost certainly not covering in an AFC North game. I do think, we'll be a little angry after the upset loss a couple weeks ago at Cleveland. I believe it might be another game in the elements. I'm not sure yet.
Let me see this weather in Pittsburgh. weather on Sunday. Clear skies for now. It's snowing over there today.
Yeah, so in Cleveland, the elements were heavy. It was a hard game to see on the TV. I can't imagine being on the field trying to play. I think we win, we don't cover.
Raiders are headed to Tampa. The Bucks are 6.5-point favorites. I almost want to say Vegas keeps it within a touchdown, but I think Tampa's better than them. So I'll take. I think Tampa's like straight up better than them. I think they're very good. I'll take Tampa to cover that.
Yeah, I'll take Tampa to cover. The Raiders have a few bright spots. I really like Brock Bowers. Jacoby Myers is pretty good, but they're just not a great team. I don't think Aiden O'Connell's your answer there.
Although I think AOC's a fine backup.
I think he is too. Just you don't like to be starting him for a prolonged amount of time, and you know the defense. I don't know much about him. I don't think
Max Crosby's good. That's about it.
Yeah. So yeah, give me Tampa to cover, but Vegas could make it a little weird. We'll see.
Yeah, I think that they could cover. I just don't think they will. Mac Jones versus Will Levis. Both bad quarterbacks, but for their own reasons. Tennessee is 3-point favorites at home. I'll take Tennessee both ways. Like I don't trust Mac Jones to win a game.
No, as much as I don't trust Will Levis, I trust Mac Jones less. I'm going to go Tennessee to cover. If I was naming, I would say give me the tie just because both teams are bad, but I'll take Tennessee to cover.
Seattle recently took the throne in the NFC West. They're playing in Arizona, but Vegas says Arizona's the favorite by 3. Who did I take? I could see this game going both ways. I took Arizona. I think that they're a more talented team, but the Seahawks are just kind of getting it done lately. I think they've already played in Seattle. Let me see how that game ended. God damn it. Give me the list of games. They played in Seattle and Seattle won by 10. So, if you wanted that little tidbit, I took Arizona and by 3 points, not a big enough spread for me to say is within a field goal. So, I'll take Arizona both ways.
I'm not sure, if I've picked the game already in private. But in this case, I'll, maybe just be different. But I'll bet on, consistency over talent. Because the theme with Arizona all year has been you don't know what team's showing up. Nothing's guaranteed. With Seattle, you might have a little here and there, but as a whole, they've been somewhat consistent. So I'll take Seattle to win it.
Buffalo at the Rams. Buffalo's 3.5-point favorite. I like what the Rams are doing. They're keeping it tough in all these games. But Buffalo, I feel like it's too much. It's too much to handle. Josh Allen's a freak.
Yeah, Buffalo's in a league of their own. I'm going to take them to win and cover, but that's no insult to the Rams and what they're doing over there.
Chicago heads to the Bay to take on the 49ers. The 49ers are still somehow 3.5-point favorites. I'm taking Chicago both ways. New coach bump for sure. And the Niners are just in a bad spot.
Yeah, I'm taking Chicago both ways too. I don't love, anything about this for San Francisco. You're down to your first string running back. Trent Williams probably won't be back for this game. I doubt Charvarius Ward will either. Ayuk definitely won't. CMC definitely won't. So, yeah, give me Chicago both ways too.
LAC headed to Kansas City. Sunday Night Football taking on the Chiefs. Division game. Gonna be tough. KC -4. This is a rare instance where I see a small spread and I split it. KC wins, LAC covers. Or LAC, I forget, it spoils it. I don't know what the term is.
They have Kansas City and the Chargers played yet?
Yes, they did earlier in the year. I know the Chiefs won. Let me see the score. Chiefs Chargers. Kansas City Chiefs. KC won by 7 in LA's house. But remember, Justin Herbert was playing hurt.
With that in mind, all the divisional games have been close. That said, give me KC, and I'll agree with you that they don't cover. It's going to be, one of those tight games.
Classic KC Chargers game. Like it comes down to the last second. If we lose, we lose. All right, give me the points on this one as well. We got the Bengals at Dallas. Cincinnati -5.5. I'd take the Bengals both ways with a score of 38-10.
Yeah, I'm taking Cincinnati both ways. They're in a, state of disarray too, but their offense is still really solid. They had a good shootout with the Steelers, who have a really good defense, by the way.
And the Dallas offense is just bad.
Yeah, Dallas's offense isn't good enough to take advantage of the far and away weak point of this team.
Give me a score.
42-10 probably.
So 52. All righty, those are your picks. Yeah, that should about cover it. Elsio, thank you so much for coming on last second. I wanted to get a show out this week despite not having Ryan here, despite the week not going exactly how I wanted it to. But the laptop's good. We got a show in. You'll be watching it on Friday after the Packers and Lions. I'm going to watch that game. That should be fun. Elsio, any parting words for the good people?
Pleasure to be here again. It's always a good time. I hope, y'all still enjoy some football despite the Patriots bye week, and have a good week.
Yeah, seriously, you don't got to lose this week. So, Elsio, I imagine we'll have you back during the playoffs because the Steelers are likely going to make it. We'll have you on. We'll talk about the Steelers' first game. If they win, we'll have you on for the second game. We'll figure it out. And we'll have you on throughout the offseason as well. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for filling in. You've been an amazing job again. Much appreciated for sure. And to all the good folks at home, make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you comment your thoughts. Make sure you follow the show on Facebook, Foxboro Beat, obviously. Enjoy the bye week, and we'll be back next week, hopefully with a more traditional show, hopefully with Ken, talking about some prospects in the place of a game review. And we'll see you ahead of the Cardinals game. All right? Take it easy. Have a great night, great weekend. And we hope you enjoy your holiday. All right, this has been the Foxboro BeatCast. We'll see you all next week.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Foxboro BeatCast. Make sure you like and subscribe and follow us on Facebook and Instagram.